Hi, lovely people. Charlie Brooks here. In case you didn't already know, Ann Summers stands for female empowerment and sexual wellness and has been placing women at the heart of their conversations for over 50 years. Responsible for putting pleasure on nearly every high street, and of course the founders of the iconic Ann Summers parties, their loyal communities allow women to establish their own businesses and create safe spaces for all. So there was no better place for me to launch The U. Shop 24/7 online or head to your nearest store to speak to one of their expertly trained colleagues. So I'm at a juicing retreat in Portugal. I know, such a lovey. But I've just met someone really exciting. Her name is Julia, and she just so happens to work in branding. So I'm about to have a meeting with her to talk about The U. Okay, why do I exist? Having been unsatisfied as a consumer. I went to that retreat to prepare for an acting role, and if I'm honest, The U really wasn't at the forefront of my mind. But then I met Julia, and we just clicked, and the whole thing grew from there. We had loads of conversations about The U. I showed her my brand book, and then Julia said something which was a bit of a revelation. That she couldn't see me in the branding. Is it, you just don't know if it's too much for the...
No, I think my gut feeling on it, we talk about a brand emotion, how it looks, think and speaks. I think because it's your brand, it's coming from you, it's got to be a bit about you. Yeah. So, how do you look, how do you think, how do you speak? I looked at your packaging and I thought, it's not playful.
It's not playful,
it's
no,
it's not. It's a logo in a black box, because everybody's individual. So we just need to come up with really nice words around it.
And this really made me stop and think. Up until this point, I'd gone for this minimalistic look for the brand book, which has worked really well so far. But she was right, it's definitely missing some personality. And I think that's because, on some subconscious level, I've been resistant to putting myself into The U, maybe for fear that I'm doing something that some people might see as controversial. But this whole experience is about unpacking those feelings and learning to be unafraid, to get intimate with my own fear. And ultimately, I do need to put more of myself into The U. And it sounds like Julia is willing to help me.
I'll take what you've got already. I think the studio, my creative director and the team would really love it. So we just squeeze it in as a little job.
Yeah.
And I said,
so I'm coming away from what feels like a very serendipitous week with a new friend, a ton of ideas, and a new plan for The U. Talking through the brand messaging with Julia has really got me thinking about how female pleasure is communicated to us in the first place. A big part of it comes down to what we learn from our parents, from school, from those unrealistic sex scenes on the telly. And I'm guessing some of these imprint on us long before we start to experiment sexually. For me, part of this journey is unlearning some of the more damaging or inaccurate stuff by re-educating ourselves. Not so easy. But now we know so much more about our anatomy, about female pleasure than we did 30 years ago, and science continues to evolve. This doesn't just apply to me or women my age and up. It's also about the younger generation. It's about my daughter too. To me, young people seem so much more sexually literate than I was at their age. And this is why talking across generations is so important. Honestly, it makes me really excited for the future about what we're going to know about female pleasure in 30 years' time and how we're going to experience it then. But it's education that has a role to play in how information is spread. So, while I try and find a voice for the U brand, I'm also on a mission to understand and rethink my own sex education. I'm Charlie Brooks, and this is coming soon. So I'm back in London, and the suppliers are currently working on the 3D CAD models. There's currently a lot of uncertainty with the product development as we've moved into lockdown. A couple of key members of Ann Summers' staff are furloughed, and the factory is based in China. So we're facing some major disruptions. I just need to be patient with the product side of things. And the good thing is, I can focus on the U's brand identity for now. Now, it's early days, but I do feel like I'm beginning to understand how branding goes beyond nice packaging or the product itself. It's about making something that has meaning in the real world and building a distinct identity for the you. But what I'm not so clear about is how I'm meant to distill down everything that I've been thinking about female pleasure into one cohesive design. Julia has introduced me to the team at her branding agency, Honest, and they really seem to get what I'm trying to say. They've been helping me fine-tune my thoughts around the you and pull it together into a proposal. And even more exciting, I've introduced Julia to Natalie, and we're about to present the proposal to Ann Summers for the first time, with the hope that Honest can help with the brand identity for the you.
I thought I'd introduce the Honest sort of, team. Sarah's our creative director.
Hello, Nat. Nice to meet you.
And then Marie is one of our creative designers.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Hello, my name's Charlie Brooks.
And we're all here. It's your fault that we're all here.
I just really hope Ann Summers like what we've done so far.
One of the things we really love about this is it's about building a story or a narrative, and also thinking about who our customer is, whether it's a 20-year-old young empowered female, a 45-year-old divorcee, really thinking about the story and all the assets within the story that we can start to create this whole sort of language and world. We've got some lovely words we've thought about, all based on Charlie's thinking around empowerment, personalisation, being playful and funny. And absolutely love this thing about, it's not just about living, it's about thriving. How do we all thrive, and can we create our own tone of voice? And it's not just about, packaging, it's about, I love this whole one Charlie came up with, get out of your head and into your pussy. We can have some really good fun work, some ways of talking about this brand.
I think it's also immersive, isn't it? So what we're doing with this is kind of taking the U brand beyond the lovely little object that it is, and having something that touches all aspects of your life. So you almost feel like you're part of this world. There's something really special, which I think is really exciting.
That was really useful. I love the idea of doing the personalisation of packaging. And I think there's something around the actual you is so simple and so beautiful in design. I like the idea of covering it in a little bit of crazy. It's the reverse normally, isn't it? That you kind of have this clean modular packaging, and then it's the crazies inside the box. That was good, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely.
That went really well. Ann Summers and Honest seemed to align on everything we discussed, and it looks like we've been given the go-ahead to start working together on the branding. Woo! This is great news. Who would have thought that a chance meeting would lead to this? I'm just about to jump on a Zoom with Sarah and Marie, or MJ, from Honest, to talk brand avatars.
Right, let's get into it then. Let's get the questions up and let's get into it.
As far as I can tell, this means working out the voice and face of the brand, a kind of alter ego for the you who represents the consumer. And I'm feeling a tiny bit stressed out about it. I'm not sure I have a clear idea in my mind.
We'll just go through it, and whatever comes out of your mouth will be absolutely right. But step out of you. Who is she? Is she 40-something? Is she 30?
No, I think she's 35.
There you go.
She's 35.
35. Is she confident?
She thinks she's confident, but she has insecurities
Underneath, there's insecurities. Is she married? Is she single?
Maybe she's got a child with somebody. She's in a relationship, potentially married, and she feels like she's lost herself. She doesn't know who she is anymore. She's become a mother and a wife and is losing her identity and is desperate to cling on to that and make some sort of mark in the world and demonstrate to her daughter how to be by doing, but she doesn't know how to do because she's in a spiral of self-doubt.
This is brilliant, Charlie.
It's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. How will the You brand support her? What's it going to give her?
I want the You brand to offer hope and inspiration, help women access, take time, and believe not only that their bodies can physically go to more places, different places, because we're unafraid, we're in our heads, which stops our bodies being able to let go. And so breaking through those physical boundaries and mental boundaries with You, it's going to give her permission to try.
To try what?
To go further, to be braver, and to be unafraid. Like together, like I will hold her hand while she goes through this and while we learn together as a group of women, as a tribe.
Fucking hell, girl.
Is that good?
Oh my God, I want it now. Fucking hell. I want to cry. It's amazing.
I feel a bit emotional as well. I feel so energized from that workshop. Up until now, whenever I've thought about the consumer, it's been in a kind of abstract sense. But now, filling in those blanks, I really can start to visualize who this woman is. It's helpful to start thinking about the You beyond myself. It's about finding a voice which speaks to as many women as possible. Now we just have to see if Ann Summers like the direction we're going in.
It'd be lovely to hear from you ladies what you think. Does she resonate?
I think it fits really well. A bit worrying. It's almost me because I'm 35, child, all of the above. And when True Romance came out, I was like, who knows this about me? This is odd.
I know what the whole brand is about. When it says not about sex and masturbation, and you also want to be unafraid of the word masturbation, that is kind of what it's about, and not having shame around that as well.
I know exactly what you mean, Charlie. I feel like it is that big piece about, it might be about sex, but it's definitely about masturbation. And I think it's that piece around the confidence of masturbation and actually having that conversation.
That's a really good point. And this product is about masturbation, which is about empowering, which is about connecting to ourselves, on a spiritual level, but also a mental and kind of grounding level. What is it about that word that makes us feel uncomfortable, and what are the paradigms that we want to break with this new You brand?
It's literally culture getting you thinking that this is a bad thing. Masturbation is still a taboo, in many cultures. It's just, you just don't talk about it.
So it's only probably in the last year that my girlfriends and I talk about masturbation. And it's a massive, massive taboo conversation that women get embarrassed to even admit that they do it.
I think the word masturbation reminds me of does feel very masculine.
Yeah.
It does feel very and it just felt very masculine and very aggressive.
Yeah.
So I think for women, it's just a different language, isn't it?
Yeah, totally a different language.
Coming away from this meeting, what really strikes me is how important collaboration is in making something great. Going in, I felt confident with the work Honest and I were presenting, and Ann Summers' response really confirmed our common goal. What I'm learning is that business is about surrounding yourself with the right people. And I feel so lucky to be working with such a brilliant, like-minded bunch of women. Being able to have conversations like these make me feel like I am on the right path with this project. It's not just about the product, the you. It's so much more expansive than that. It's about being able to speak openly about pleasure and connect with others in the process. And it also got me thinking about the other women in my life and the conversations that I have with them too. Here's me, my mum, and Tony's mum, Celia.
Did you speak to your mum about sex?
No, never. Never in a million years.
So you didn't tell her when you lost your virginity?
No.
Did you, Seals?
No.
No.
How old were you when you lost your virginity?
I can't remember.
This is on record.
Seals, did you ever look at your vagina in a mirror? No.
It wasn't, the environment wasn't so sort of sexually charged then, was it really? It was all private and you didn't talk about it, or it was all secret really. But it's just, I think that's just how we were brought up really, and you didn't, there was nothing like that at school. I think once they sort of tried to give us a sort of talk on it and we're all giggling and sniggering.
So like the talk of masturbation and all that sort of thing?
No, never ever.
I didn't really know what that was then.
Really?
Yeah.
You would never ever get anyone to talk about that.
No. The thing is, I can't remember ever sort of like thinking about that when I was younger. It was all about kissing and everything. But it was never sort of really discussed about. And then I suppose, masturbation, they just used to talk about wanker.
Speaking with my mum and Celia just then is an important reminder about how far we've come in what we know about sex. And I feel very lucky and grateful that I can have such honest conversations with my mum. Not everyone has that relationship, but it feels like there is still a lot to do to normalise these conversations. I want to speak to someone who could help me fill in some of the gaps. So I'm about to speak to the brilliant Ruby Rare. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Can you tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Well, my name's Ruby Rare. I am a sex educator. I'm an author. I'm a very happy naked person. I'm queer, I'm non-monogamous, and I'm dual heritage. And all of those are quite important things that I bring to my perspective of sex education, sex positivity, and body positivity. And after I graduated from uni, I just noticed that I was becoming more and more interested in these conversations that we just don't have. I'd noticed that me and a group of girlfriends would have a conversation and it would kind of lead into talking a little bit about porn or a little bit about sex. And then the conversation would move on and I'd be like, oh, no, I want to keep talking about that thing. I want to ask you all loads more questions and I want to talk to you about this. And I realized that there was a job where I could do that all the time and I could work with young people. And I've always been incredibly passionate about learning from and talking to people of other generations. I think we really undervalue older generations and younger, and the perspectives that we can bring to each other just feels very important.
I mean, I didn't have sex education. It didn't really exist in my school. I think it wasn't a great example in any way. I did all of my own exploration. If you were going to redesign a curriculum for adults in sex education, Ruby, what would be the key points that you would include?
I mean, first of all, can I please do this in real life? Because I would love to make a real life curriculum for adults. That is the true sex nerd in me. I'm just beaming now. I mean, the first thing would be communication and consent, and understanding that consent is not this scary formal agreement. It is most often consent is around communicating pleasure. And it's about getting to a place where everyone's on the same page and everyone's having fun. I would give people an anatomy lesson that they didn't receive at school that was really pleasure focused and, spoke loads about the prostate and about the correct anatomical diagrams of the clitoris and how clitorises get erections just the same as penises do, but we just don't socially talk about them and that's kind of weird. I would have some honest conversations around fertility in there for those, well, for everyone, because it's always really useful. We do need to teach people to be really wary of the risks of pregnancy if that's something that people don't want. But at the same time, fertility and menopause and like all of these stages of our lives and our reproductive health are so not discussed. And I want to hear that more. Like, I don't know enough about menopause right now, and we need more of all that stuff. I talk about porn. I talk about ethical porn and paying for your porn and why that's important. I would talk about not focusing as much on penetration.
I totally hear you. It feels like we're told that penetrative sex is the be all and the end all. That's definitely not the case, is it?
I mean, one of the really shocking and very important facts to know is that over 75% of women and people with vulvas are like very unlikely to have an orgasm through penetration alone. Our anatomy requires a lot of clitoral stimulation in order to experience pleasure. And, you know, it's important to flag here that like an orgasm is not the be all and end all of sex, but there's a big orgasm gap when we look at heterosexual couples and sex between men and women. And we know it's not because orgasm is more difficult for people with vulvas, because when we look at women having sex with women, those statistics are totally different and loads of people are having orgasms. So it's not that like female orgasm is more elusive. It's that we've lived in a society for a very long time that has not prioritized female pleasure. And because of reproduction and because of our entire society, you know, like worshipping penises in one way or another, we're really focused on sex that involves a penis and involves a penis going into something else. That can be a great form of sex, don't get me wrong, but I'm very keen to see messages in like film and media, and then also in the way that we talk about sex education, not looking at penetrative penis in vagina sex as like real sex or the pinnacle. I'm doing like air quotes, like it's just one of many different things that can be on the menu. I think our attitudes to sex can really shift when we start deprioritizing penetration.
That was pretty illuminating. Ruby talks so much sense and really highlights how much we don't know and should. One thing I should say here, we got the trademark. Woo! Turns out that the 50% chance of getting the name came through. The U is officially the UTM. Such good news and a much needed boost. Now, back to the branding. We've got the avatar and a strong sense of who this product is for. We just need to hash out the details of what the identity and packaging are actually going to look like. This whole process will ultimately lead to a big meeting with Anne Summers where we present the final idea to Jacqueline. I'm super confident in the direction we're taking, but this is still nerve-wracking. After all, I am the one who's brought everyone together here.
So, I mean, what we want to obviously refine, build on, and finalize the brand story. We're going to go further and develop more.
So I'm with Veb and MJ from Honest, and we're about to put our heads together. And I have a feeling it's going to take a few meetings to get this right.
And it's about awakening the wonder within.
Amazing. Awakening the wonder within. I also wrote something down that I don't know, just throwing it out there. Let's see what you can do.
This is something that I was starting to look at almost by the, like the start of the story, where you're kind of exploring and you're not too sure who you are. And it's all about layers and finding yourself and exploring these different facets.
Oh my God, I love it. One thing with what you sent me, Vebs, all the language, I think there's something really good in it. I don't think it is flowery that at all, but making sure that it's not too flowery, and too, because everyone's using the words authenticity and
like the idea that this is cut out and you can start to reach what, like a little preview of what inside, and so that neutral, and then the vibration.
This idea of wild felt like it could be misinterpreted very easily. Whereas when you tether a horse, it's in its natural state. So maybe it's this idea of being, untethered. And from that, we got to this idea of unleashed. We did Wonder Unleashed, but we also did Unleash the Wonder of You.
I really love Wonder Unleashed. I think that's
so we started to look at the color and at the font, so the sense of being premium and sophisticated with a little slash of gold. And then I will bring the color by energy. And so this is.
I feel like we've made good progress. They've really brought my idea together and just kind of elevated it. The collective effort to realise this design is significant. I am talking tens of hours here. And it really does go to show the importance of good branding, thinking through what we're trying to say with the you. I may be a little biased here, but I think it's looking great. It's beyond what I could have imagined.
So, we have some exciting stuff to share. MJ, over to you, my love.
Should I share my screen?
Oh, this is a big moment, isn't it? This is quite a big moment. I get my mum. Mum!
Now, this is obviously a podcast, so I will try my best to describe the design.
Okay, and this is where we left with the look and feel after the...
It's a colourful collage of photographs and imagery against a backdrop of white. A woman's silhouette is the central figure, but surrounding this are doodles and writing and images of butterflies, a balloon, flowers, that type of thing. It's beautiful, but it also has edge. And I couldn't be more excited to share this with Jacqueline.
Oh, well done, team. Thank you. Ooh.
Pleasure. It's such an amazing brand.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Only thanks to you lot.
Oh, look how sweet. Before we do, I wanted to check back in with Ruby to talk about the way we perceive ourselves and its impact on how we experience pleasure. So let me talk about your Instagram for a second, which I'm slightly obsessed with. I'm going to have to say, I've been stalking you. I was on your Instagram and you were doing a belly dance and I was just like so in awe. The amount of times I've stood in front of my mirror and like wobbled my belly in the inner monologue where I go, oh, I'm disgusting, I'm this, I'm that. The torture I tell myself when it then does come to pleasure, those constant thoughts of how you feel about yourself can be quite damaging and totally restricting.
Have you read Come As You Are, the Emily Nagoski book? That is such a great book when it comes to understanding desire. The thing that she talks about the most is the dual control model, which I'll do a super, super speedy version of.
Please, give it to me.
We think of sexual desire as being turned on. And that is like the accelerator. It's the kind of thing in our mind that's just like, go, 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 sex is happening, this is all great. But culturally, what we fail to address is that there are two sort of things that are going on. There's the accelerator turning on, but there is also a brake that turns off. And it's all very well if you have your like sort of accelerator in your brain. You can tell I'm not a scientist. But if you also have your foot on the brake, nothing's going to happen. So it's kind of sexual desire is as much about turning the offs off as it is the ons on. You know, all of those things that will flare up the brake part of this dual control model are, you know, worries about your body or your sexual desire or performance. But it's also, you know, is the environment around you feeling safe? Is your kid going to wake up? Did you take the bins out? You're really stressed because you don't know what your boss is going to say to you tomorrow at work. You know, it's all of these other things. And it's not just the stuff to do with sex. It's the stuff around all aspects of our lives. We can't solve all those problems, but it's allowing yourself to put them to one side to enjoy sex. And then what I wouldn't want is for someone to listen to this conversation and be like, oh my God, every time I have sex, whether that's on my own or with someone else, it needs to be amazing. I need to be so connected to myself. Sometimes you get there and sometimes you don't. And it's okay to sex doesn't need to be the best sex you've ever had every time you do it. And you also don't need to be having sex all the time. It's really about listening to your body and, you know, doing it when you want to and when it feels right for you.
Yeah, I think the more I remember that. And the more I listen to my body, my well-being feels like next level shit. Bridging this gap, I think, is between pleasure and well-being.
It can be totally transformational. Just putting like your sexual well-being as part of your well-being. That again, like once you've done it, it feels like a no-brainer. But, it's not straightforward. And we have to remember that very, very few of us, if any of us, are taught that that is a valid part of our sexual well-being when we're growing up. So we're having to like reevaluate and reprogram ourselves. And that takes time. But when you get there, it can be really lovely.
Ruby is so right here. It is about reevaluating and reprogramming things. For me personally on this journey, but also on a larger scale with what we're trying to achieve with the product. Putting pleasure and self-care front and center. Tapping into those feelings of play and curiosity and getting out of our heads. I really do feel that the branding echoes these sentiments, and I just hope that they can see that too. Okay, so today is the day we present all of the hard work that we've been doing with the branding team to Jacqueline, who hasn't seen any of it. So we've got a Zoom call at 11 o'clock. It's 10:30 now. I wasn't nervous because I was just like, just be yourself, be passionate, speak passionately about your brand, about the world that we want to create. But I've had like 2 calls from the branding and then from the marketing going, are you okay? Just checking it's fine. You're going to smash it. I was like, well, I wasn't nervous, but I am now. So I'm just getting myself ready. It's exciting. It's really exciting. Wow. Here we go. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
See you. Hi. I'm so excited about showing you. I've literally got like this nervous excitement where I'm like bursting at the seams to like introduce you to our world.
Oh, we can't wait.
Yay! I'm so excited about taking you on this journey. I think there are so many women out there that are going through, have to be, because every time I speak to friends, anybody about this, the idea and the vision of this story, they're like, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. So actually living it and be able to say, I'm going to hold you and I'm going to hold your hand through this, whatever that might be, whether that's, re-exploring yourself sexually or mentally. The meeting is going pretty well. I'm starting to feel a lot more confident and able to talk about everything we've discussed, what the U's about, and what this could really mean for women around the world. But when all is said and done, it really comes down to what Jacqueline thinks.
Yeah. If I just start with the sort of branding. I really love the journey that Charlie and MJ have been on together. That really, and it's so consistent and so cool. And what I particularly like about it is it's very different to anything that we have ever done before, but also very different to anything I've seen before. I like the tone of voice as well. I think just positions this product in a different way. And really what I wanted to say to Charlie is, first of all, you absolutely are a businesswoman. I wouldn't doubt yourself on that. You've just this whole journey that you've been on, and this is what businesses are born out of. It's born from passion. You're passionate about an idea, and then you take it and run with it, and you bring in the best people that you can find to help support you, and that's clearly what you've done.
Thank you so much. I can't believe it. I've got the best team of women around me. Everyone has been absolutely amazing. It's just been so lucky to have all of you, and obviously you, Jacqueline, allowing this and helping me realise this dream. Thank you.
It was an amazing presentation. It was really enjoyable to see, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about the next steps.
Thanks, Jacqueline. So lovely.
Well done, Charlie. Well done, everyone. You've done great. Absolutely brilliant.
What a great Monday. What a hot Monday, but what a great Monday. See you later.
Bye. 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 And breathe.
Coming Soon was brought to you by Audi and features me, Charlie Brooks, with contributions from Ruby Rare. The series producer is Holly Aquilina. This episode was produced and sound designed by Ivor Manley, and the executive producer is Ellie DiMartino. Hey, it's Charlie again. I am beyond delighted to tell you about the You, a vibrator I designed with sexual wellness powerhouse Anne Summers. It's the very first of its kind, as this vibrator uses patent-pending layering technology to build waves of pleasure. Unlike anything you own, the You targets the clitoris externally and internally, because you only get 20% of the clitoris on the outside, don't you know? It will help you to get out of your head and into your body, to find that deep and sensual pleasure like never before. It's available now on annesummers.com or in store. I can't wait to hear what you think.